Do you think everything that happens for a reason? Have you ever thought about the deeper meaning of reality? Have you ever thought about what is the meaning of life? These are some of the questions that have plagued humanity for generations because frankly, we don't really know the answers to them. But see, here's the best part. We don't have to know the answer. Just searching for the answer itself makes us much more wiser and more intelligent than we are right now. This is what philosophy can do for you. It can show you how to think, how to argue, and how to come up to your own conclusions. Most people think that they don't really need philosophy, or they think that philosophy is reserved for the extremely intellectual people, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Let me ask you something. Do you believe in a religion? Do you not believe in a religion? Do you live by a set of moral rules? All of these questions can be understood through philosophy. But I can understand why some of you might not read philosophy. It's usually written in complex words, and even then it can be hard to understand what people are saying. That's why in this video, I'll tell you about two concepts that I really liked about philosophy from the French philosopher Voltaire. These are the concepts of empiricism and religious tolerance. Now, the philosophy of empiricism basically states that we learn about life only through experience. So in order to tell you a little bit about empiricism, I'm going to tell you a story called Candide, written by Voltaire. You may or may not have heard it before. Candide lived in his uncle's palace with his cousin Cunegonde and his tutor Pangloss, who was a philosopher. Now Pangloss was an optimist, and he believed that the world we were living in is the best of all possible worlds. Now Cunegonde and Candide fell in love, and then Candide's uncle found out and he kicked Candide out. He was then forced into the military and beaten and nearly killed. Then he was miraculously saved by a man called James, and he started to live with him and work for him. Then one day, Candide, while walking on the street, noticed a really sick man on the street, almost about to die, and it turned out that it was his old tutor Pangloss. Pangloss told him that the army killed his uncle's estate and his beloved Cunegonde. Now obviously Candide was very depressed when he heard about this. Eventually, Candide, James, and his tutor Pangloss decided to go to another country, and during the course of events, James and Pangloss were killed. Candide somehow managed to escape, and out of a weird turn of events, he found Cunegonde again, but turns out she was the slave of two men. He then killed both of the men, rescued her, and then somehow they got separated again. So you might have noticed a trend here. A lot of bad things happen to all the people in the story, but ultimately everyone makes it to a small farm in Turkey and they are now safe. But turns out that because they're safe, they are now bored, and they still haven't been able to figure out what the meaning of life was. They then decided that maybe the best thing to do was to just work on your garden, and that is how you can truly achieve happiness, by just working on your garden. This story basically gives us the conclusion that we cannot find happiness by thinking about how the world should be, but that we need to take action in our own lives and fix our own lives, and maybe then we can find happiness. So this story makes us think about a lot of philosophical questions, and the thing about these questions is that there is no right or wrong answer. But these questions can always serve us as brain exercises. The more you think about them, the more arguments you can make for and against the topic, the more wise you're going to become. Now I'll tell you about the other philosophy that Voltaire really believed in, and that was religious tolerance. Voltaire always believed in religious tolerance and freedom of speech. So the backstory is that Voltaire was living in France at the time, and in his time there was a lot of religious intolerance in France. He used to admire England because at that time they promoted freedom of religion, and their society gave birth to one of his idols, Isaac Newton. So this is why Voltaire actually started to prefer the English society as opposed to where he was born. So coming back to religious tolerance, I believe that freedom of speech and religious tolerance are the two things that are necessary for any country to develop. So we can think about this in very practical terms. If history had ever shown that religious intolerance and lack of freedom of speech actually moved a society forward, then I would be the first person to support it. But never has history ever shown that religious hatred or lack of freedom of speech has advanced a society. In fact, whenever a society loses these characteristics, it doesn't survive for very long. Voltaire had a famous saying, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." That is the real spirit of a democracy. And this is why I believe that we all should be familiar with these concepts of philosophy so we can live in a free and democratic world. So my message to all of you who are watching this video is to not take my opinion about anything. You don't have to agree with everything that I say, but always remember to think deeply and think very carefully. Analyze yourself and the world. Fix yourself. Become a better version of who you are. Think for yourself and form your own opinions. Imagine of what we could achieve if we all started to think this way. Take care, keep learning, and keep hope. Raise your voice against injustice and respect everyone's right to speech. That's how we move forward in this world. That's all for this video. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to learn more about philosophy from this channel. If you liked the video, then click the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.